Mike Elk. He is a third-generation union and labor organizer. He writes for InTheseTimes.com and Alternet. So thank you for taking a bit of time to talk. I understand you're sick.
Yeah, I have asthma now. You can thank the Koch brothers and all their power plants for that.
Well, all right. So I just wanted to start with a very basic question. So why are unions good? I mean, obviously you represent right for unions. So why are they good? Why do we need them? And why do we need things like collective bargaining?
Well, I mean, if you look at the highest rates of unionization in this country, and when we had the highest wages, which was the 1950s, we had that because workers could bargain collectively for higher wages. When you have societies where workers can't bargain, wages go down, and then workers don't invest in the economy. They can't buy anything, and that causes big problems. You can't create jobs then.
So
I think that's why we need unions.
Okay, so like a lot of times you'll hear things like, unions are like somehow socialist, but it seems like, and this is a lot of language I hear, but it seems like what you're saying is we need unions to basically save capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, but if you look at what corporations have done now, American corporations this last year experienced their highest rate of profit. I think it was 36% since 1950. And the way they were able to do that was they're just working workers harder but for less. But that is a bubble economy, and after a while, I mean, you have to have somebody buying stuff somewhere. But I think what capitalism is at a point now is that they're beginning to realize that they have market overseas that they can sell to. So I think we're at a real divergent point.
So, I mean, obviously in the abstract, you can establish this point that unions are good, but what would you say about the assertion that even I hear from many liberals and otherwise pro-labor people, they admit that, especially the big unions the leadership at least is corrupt. I mean, you hear this all the time. So, what's your that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've written about that. There definitely is some corruption. I don't think you have mafia-like corruption, but I think you have corrupted by access to power, where the AFL-CIO is afraid of denouncing the White House because they don't want to get into hot water with the White House. Or there's deals with the boss, or they don't want to do the difficult things. They don't want to admit that they did something wrong. And I think that is a situation that there has been corruption, and there still is. I mean, there was a study that showed that union leaders were that if you cap union leaders' salary at $150,000, you could save the labor movement $149 million a year.
So wait, how much money is union leaders making? If you're saying you could cap it at $150,000, so they're making more than that? I mean, what are they making?
Well, I mean, there's 1,200 union leaders that are making above $150,000 a year. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of money. But then again, you have unions like United Electrical Workers, where the salary of all the union, representatives is capped at $56,000 a year.
So it's some unions with their leadership that are making that's making like a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, but it's the leaders that are corrupt. Would you say the overall, you mentioned the AFL-CIO, is the overall union organization corrupt, or is it just the leadership, in your opinion?
Well, it's not the leadership of every union. There's some very, very good unions. I think the steel workers are a great union. Communication workers are a great union. Sheet metal workers are great. United Electrical Workers. But I think there's a number of unions that they just learn to play ball with the boss, and people have relationships with the boss they don't want to overturn.
So in a sense, unions are supposed to represent workers from the boss, and then many times the union leaders, the corrupt ones you're talking about, are actually kind of in bed with the boss, kind of like
that's.
It's almost like
that's. Yeah, I mean, that certainly happened on a number of occasions. Yeah.
All right. So I just want to get your opinion. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but why are the unions losing? I mean, only 7% of private workers are unionized, and only like a third of public workers are in unions. Why is this? Why are they losing so bad?
Well, 30,000 workers are fired or disciplined every year for trying to join a union. In a third of all union organizing drives, somebody's fired. In half of all union organizing drives, they threaten to close down and ship all the work overseas. So it's very tough to join a union. Only 1 in 7 union drives results in ever getting a union contract. So that's very tough. And I think if you look at the number of jobs that are being outsourced, a lot of that is going to China. I mean, it's just very tough nowadays, and so many people are outside of the labor movement that they don't even know what labor unions do anymore. So they're miseducated. They're easy to intimidate.
And I guess at least that was the calculation when you see the states like Wisconsin, trying to bust the labor unions, was that so many people are outside the union that they were hoping that, well, people don't know what unions are or what they do anymore, so maybe they'll turn against them.
Yeah, I think that's a serious problem, is that so many people are outside the labor movement and that they're starting to turn against it. I think you're seeing that now with people complaining about public employees having good pension plans. I mean, the average public employee pension is $19,000 a year, and people are saying that that's too much.
I find that laughable. That's too much. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's what I was going to say.
So, if you look at the Egyptian Revolution, for example, kind of the turning point in that revolution was when the workers and the unions decided to strike, and they basically shut down the economy, and that was finally when, okay, Mubarak, you got to leave. So would you support, a mass strike and to protest the bills in Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, etc.? Do you think they should do a mass strike?
I don't know. I mean, that's up to the workers. That's not up to me. I mean, that's what the workers want to do. I mean, I'm a journalist. But
if you were advising them, let's say.
Well, I would say that they would certainly need to consider the situation. I think without a doubt, that's something that needs to be seriously looked in. I mean, look what Scott Walker is going to disobey the courts in Wisconsin and implement this law when they said that they couldn't implement this law. So what leverage do they have outside of their leverage to shut, their labor power? So I think it's disappointing that they're not striking.
So you talked about leverage, and so this is just kind of a question I have. What can we, me and the average listener, do? Maybe people that are outside the labor movement, or maybe inside of it. What can we do? What should we do to help?
I think, go out and organize your workplace and support those that are trying to organize your workplace.
You worked for the Obama-Biden campaign, right? You worked on the campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what is your opinion of how the administration has been on labor specifically? And if you want to discuss your views on how the administration is behaving more generally, feel free. But especially with labor, how do you think the administration is performing?
I think it's clear that they're not on the side of workers. I think they've shown that they haven't done anything in terms of labor law. They haven't done anything to stop the outflow of factories from this country. And the president has palled around with economic terrorists like GE CEO Jeff Immelt, who's closed 29 factories in the United States since Obama took office.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I would agree with your assessment. I think especially if you look at his reaction to the Wisconsin protest, and I don't put as much stock in presidential reactions as a lot of people do, but I mean, it was pretty laughable. He's like, "Yeah, I support it, but I ain't going out there." I mean, it was pathetically bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It was really bad.
So, quickly, you used to write for the Huffington Post, and now you don't, and it's kind of controversy. So why don't you explain what happened? Because you'd be able to explain better now.
Yeah. I helped about 200 construction workers break into a conference of bankers. They're protesting a home construction company which had gotten $1 billion in stimulus, but had yet to produce one single job. So I was there for that. Yeah.
You were there for that, and they told you couldn't write for them anymore?
Yeah.
I thought it was much more egregious than that. That was it? You helped them?
No, I mean, I helped them break in, yeah.
Okay. So what is your opinion of the whole Huffington Post merging with AOL?
I mean, I think they absolutely sold out.
I would agree. I mean, it appears so because it was this whole idea, at least originally it looked like, was this idea where you have the writers that blog for free and you could go in there, and it just didn't make a lot of sense that they'd make a lot of money off that, I guess. And it definitely was a sellout, I think. So, so when they merged with AOL, they laid off a bunch of workers, and them not paying their writers was something I've seen you at least talk about on Twitter. So what is that? I mean, is that legal to not pay their writers and still make money off of it?
I mean, it's there's differing legal opinions on it, but it'd be good if a court looked at it. So I think it's something that I think the courts will have to look into.
All right, man. Quickly, before I let you go, I think you had an interesting opinion originally, at least, on the AT&T and T-Mobile merger. You actually think some good out of this. What is it?
Well, it's a mixed bag. AT&T has a neutrality agreement with its union. It's a heavily unionized company. They would allow workers to easily unionize, so I think it could be good in that sense, because they would allow workers to organize more quickly.
All right. I thank you a bunch, Mike, for coming on. It's Mike Elk. He's a union organizer, and he writes for In These Times and Alternate, and thank you very much.